In this video, we will go over the muscles of the forearm. First, let's identify the surfaces. This is the anterior surface of the forearm where the palms are facing forward. They are supinated. This is the posterior surface of the forearm. Toward the thumb is the lateral aspect of the forearm, and toward the little finger is the medial aspect. Also remember, you have two bones in the forearm. The radius, which is the lateral bone in the forearm, the ulna, which is the medial bone in the forearm. Here we can see part of the ulna right here. Starting with the first muscle. This right here is the pronator teres muscle. Next to it, we have the flexor carpi radialis muscle. You need to have the flexors muscles on the anterior aspect of the forearm so that you can flex the fingers. You need to have the extensor muscles on the posterior aspect of the forearm so that you can extend the digits. So this is the flexor carpi, meaning related to the carpal bones, and radialis because we have the radius as the lateral bone. Let's skip these two muscles for a minute. This muscle right here is the flexor carpi ulnaris muscle. Remember, the ulna is the medial bone. Moving to this muscle in the middle, this is the palmaris longus muscle. So that is the palmaris longus muscle. Right under the palmaris longus muscle, we have the flexor digitorum superficialis muscle. So this is the flexor digitorum superficialis muscle. If we take the pronator teres, the flexor carpi radialis, the palmaris longus away, we can see part of the flexor digitorum superficialis muscle right here. Moving to this muscle right here, this is the pronator quadratus muscle. So we started with the pronator teres muscle right here, and this is the pronator quadratus muscle. It looks like a quadrangular in shape. The muscles of the posterior aspect of the forearm. So in the anatomical position, this is the posterior aspect. This is the lateral aspect toward the thumb. This is the medial aspect toward the little finger, and that is the anterior aspect. First muscle right here, we have the brachioradialis muscle, whereas this muscle is the brachialis muscle. Remember, the radius is the lateral bone, so that is the brachioradialis muscle. Next to it, we have the extensor carpi radialis longus muscle. Next to the extensor carpi radialis longus, we have the extensor carpi radialis brevis muscle. So these three muscles, they have the word radialis. Why? Because the radius is the lateral bone in your forearm. These two have the extensor. Why? Because they are on the posterior aspect to allow you to extend the fingers. Next, we have the extensor digitorum muscle. So this is the extensor digitorum muscle. It extends the fingers. Now I'm moving medially. We are still on the posterior aspect. This muscle is the extensor carpi ulnaris muscle. So let's move it right here so you can see it. This is the extensor carpi ulnaris muscle. Why ulnaris? Because the ulna is the medial bone, and it is extensor because it's on the posterior surface. Here we have the anconeus muscle. So this is the anconeus muscle. We can see part of the triceps brachii muscle on the medial aspect right here of the arm. Now let's remove these three muscles so we can see the muscle right underneath it. Right here, we can see part of the supinator muscle. Let's remove the extensor digitorum muscle, the extensor carpi ulnaris muscle and the anconeus muscle. So we can see the supinator muscle fully. So this is the supinator muscle. The supinator muscle allows us to supinate the forearm. So you have the supinator right here on the posterior aspect. Where if we go back to the anterior aspect of the forearm, you can see the pronator teres muscle that allows you to pronate the forearm. On the anterior aspect of the forearm, you have the pronator teres muscle and the pronator quadratus muscle, which allows you to pronate the forearm. When you pronate the forearm, as if you're playing basketball, so the palms are facing downwards. In supination, the palms are facing upwards, as if you're holding a bowl of soup. So let's go over the muscles of the forearm while the model on the stand. First, this is the anterior aspect where we have the flexor muscles to allow us to flex. This is the posterior aspect where we have the extensor muscles to allow us to extend the fingers. This is the medial aspect toward the little finger. This is the lateral aspect toward the thumb. The first muscle is the pronator teres muscle. We can see the pronator quadratus muscle. Right here, this is the flexor carpi radialis muscle. This is the palmaris longus muscle. Underneath it, we have the flexor digitorum superficialis muscle. This is the flexor carpi ulnaris muscle. Moving to the side, we can still see the pronator teres muscle and we can see the quadratus. Moving to the side, we can still see the pronator teres muscle and the pronator quadratus muscle. This is the thumb, so that is the lateral aspect. This muscle right here is the brachioradialis muscle. This is the brachialis muscle. This is the extensor carpi radialis longus muscle. Next to it, we have the extensor carpi radialis brevis muscle. Moving right here, we have the extensor digitorum muscle. Toward the medial aspect, we have the extensor carpi ulnaris muscle. And this is the anconeus muscle. Let's remove these muscles so we can see the supinator muscle. So this right here is the supinator muscle.